Hi, I'm Hayley and this is Susan, and welcome to Cancer Research Demystified.
So today we're going to talk about some of the language that surrounds cancer journeys and survivorship. Now, there's a lot of strong opinions on both sides of this that say that language like a fight against cancer, battle against cancer, or standing up to cancer is either helpful or harmful. And since we're researchers, we're going to look at some of the scientific evidence behind both sides of this debate.
So researchers believe this language started with President Nixon's war on cancer. So this changed political policy, it raised public awareness, but one researcher puts it like this. It distorts political thinking about cancer with the illusory clarity of victory and defeat.
So what kind of metaphors are used and how widely? Well, one researcher called Elena Semino and her team have looked into this in detail, and they've published several peer-reviewed articles on this topic. In one study, they looked at 1.5 million words of discussion from different interviews and online forums. It turned out that words like fight, battle, and war on cancer are quite frequently used, but also so are things like attack, cruel, kick, and shatter. So we do have research data to support that so-called violence metaphors are common in cancer discussion. But do we know whether they're helpful or harmful? As with most things, this is a bit of a grey area.
So when this language is used in an empowering way, it can have remarkably positive effects. It can mobilise communities and it can be used to raise a ton of money for cancer charities and cancer support groups. For example, Stand Up to Cancer UK are supporting 35 clinical trials and research projects, and this is truly inspirational. The American arm in 2008 alone, they raised over $100 million across 170 countries.
Semino and her colleagues have pointed out, based on their research, that when this language is used in an empowering way, it can actually really help patients on an individual level. And patients themselves do use this kind of language to sort of make themselves feel better. One doctor said that if the patients do enjoy that kind of language, then he likes to use it, to show that he's a partner with them for that fight ahead. Another aspect is that we do know that anxiety and depression are quite prevalent among cancer patients, so if there's a way that we can try and prevent that, even if it's just with using language that builds people up, then, it might well be worth doing.
But we have to be careful here. There's a negative side to using this language. We're implying that if a patient fights hard enough, that they can cure their cancer. And we know as researchers that's not necessarily the case. We don't want to give them any false hope. This is a complex disease and mood alone isn't going to cure it.
The other negative is when this language can be used in a disempowering way. So, for example, some obituaries that talk about cancer patients as having lost their fight, or then terminal patients feeling like they're somehow failing themselves. Another is that often survivors feel survivor's guilt when they know that another loved one didn't survive. In each of these cases, this language is really kind of just making a painful event even more painful. And there's probably a better way that we could approach it.
So how are cancer charities and organisations dealing with this problem of language? Macmillan has stated, as an organisation, Macmillan has stayed clear of the language of war because our research shows that some people can find it difficult, inappropriate or upsetting. But more recently, we found that young people strongly identify with the idea of fighting cancer. They often use the language themselves. So in summary, how these words make people feel is really dependent on the person hearing or saying these words. So if you're in a situation where you're hearing this sort of language, reach out to those around you and ask how it's making people feel.
So if you'd like some more information on talking to people with cancer, Macmillan actually have some brilliant leaflets on this, and we'll link below to some resources like this as well. And we'll also link to a really good talk by Elena Semino about her research as well. Thanks for watching another episode of Cancer Research Demystified. If you've got any questions on this topic or requests for further videos, please leave them in the comments below. And subscribe if you'd like to see some more.